Today, I just kind of want to talk about something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and talk about it. It's add-ons. Um, Big bad thing everyone's been talking about with the game that everyone's worried about for Warcraft. And I saw. I know it's kind of split. I know there's a lot of people saying they're excited for it, and then there's a lot of people dreading it. And I mean, I think right now the loudest opinion is definitely people are worried about it slash scared of what's going to happen. And I know the general thing is like a lot of people are just saying like it's going to be way worse than you expect. And as someone who, I mean, first off, I don't really use weak auras for like say like my class or anything like that. I personally I don't like it. The only time I ever actual weak auras is useful is I would say in classic playing warlock when I'm raiding. Only when I'm raiding because you can't really see it super classic. But besides the point, retail, I really don't use Rigors other than if I'm using them for raids, and that's just for combat interactions. And obviously, that's kind of what the target is. And I'm still confused as to if we're going to be able to use weak auras to be able to customize our UI for like like they're taking away. I don't know that's the thing that gets me is that like are we still going to be able to have the for UI for our classes? I don't know. That's kind of the thing. I still think it's really early on, and I think a lot of people are just worried that it's going to be taking that it's so close. Because right now, if you look at WoW, if you load up WoW, it shows that Legion Remix ends in about 90 days, and I think everyone's assuming once Legion Remix ends, we're going to be going into midnight. Which I mean, that's basically what happened with the War Within with Mist of Pandaria Remix. But I don't know. 90 days seems really, really soon. But I couldn't think of any other time. I mean, that's going to be about 6 months after Manaforge Omega. I mean, that kind of does line up kind of perfectly with that. So I'm not necessarily doubting Midnight's going to come out in 90 days, but I think a lot of people are just very worried because they see what the current state of the alpha is. Especially, I've seen a lot with meters. A lot of people see that the damage meters, the state, the like how they look, I guess. Which I think the damage meter looks. I've seen it. It looks fine. I'll put a photo up of it, but I think it looks fine. I don't know. Like it's obviously not finished or done, and I know a lot of people are saying that they're worried because Blizzard seems like it might probably won't be ready in time. But I not super sure. I mean, it just depends. We'll have to see how that works out. But I think this is very much. I don't want to put in my 2 cents about this because I think people are kind of darkening down on it too much because I ultimately think that remember that I think they forget this is something that it's not that I will say it's very harsh the way they're doing it and it came out of nowhere and I think that's probably one downside to how Blizzard is doing this. But I also think they need to remember that this is definitely a necessity. I understand they keep on bringing a lot of people bring up that here's the thing now. And for 20 years, it's been kind of the wrong thing. Like they've needed to fix this for a long time. And I want to bring up my first point here, being that when it comes to other games, if you are required, let's be honest, with WoW, you are required to download third-party resources to be able to complete the game. That is bad. Like no other game does that. None. Insane. Like, I remember my girlfriend was telling me, well, Minecraft has mods. But Minecraft is a complete game on its own. You don't have to download anything. That's just extra added things that you can add to it. So I mean, I can try to sit here and think about any other example of a game where you have to download third party resources to be able to play the game. That's insane. That's not normal. And it's a barrier of entry that cuts off Blizzard's whole philosophy that they said at BlizzCon a couple years ago, where they were saying that they want, for the 20-year anniversary of WoW, they were saying they want another 20 years. I'm sorry, you can't have 20 years of game again into without some growth happening. They need to have some growth to the game. People need new players to come to the game, and as of right now, they're not doing that. Like right now, new players are not coming at all. And one of the reason for that, I really think, is add-ons. You start it up, you start up WoW, you start playing it. First off, you don't even know what the fuck you're looking at. But then also on top of that, you're being told that you need damage meters. You're being told that you need weak auras to be able to do raids. And then also you have to look up guide videos just to be able to understand your class. And then also you're told half the time you need weak auras and add-ons to be able to play your class on top of that. So it's very confusing and weird, and it takes a lot for new players to get in this game. And also, have you ever tried explaining to someone? So I've had a couple friends trying to get into WoW recently. You know how hard it is to try to explain to them that you have to download an app called CurseForge, and then through that you have to download stuff on CurseForge just to be able to play the game before you ever open the game. It's unheard of. It's insane. It's ridiculous, and it's the thing that bottlenecks the fucking game. Excuse my language. Fucking. Anyway, so and also another thing is I think it's just bad business practice because one of the important things is when I guess I'm going to go into as a business perspective for Blizzard. It's just bad business when your game doesn't have any uniformity to it because it looks different. Like I don't know. I guess I would have to argue. I could see some argument against this, but I really do think weak ores and add-ons could cause so much difference how the game actually looks and almost function not functions, but how players interact with the game will cause people that don't know the game, they don't understand that this is if it's all the same game or different games. And plus, it's even more confusing when you take into the fact that there's 4 different versions of the game. And if you're a new player, that in itself is hard to understand. Let's say again, I've had friends getting into WoW and they start playing a version of WoW and they're like, "Yo, dude, let's play." And I'm like, "Oh, you're on a different version. We can play that version, but I'm currently not playing that version." And they're like, "Oh, wait, what? Other versions? What do you mean?" And then I have to go on and explain. Anywho, though, back to the add-ons. I think I think right now it's bad business. I think it's hard to recognize. And I think what they're trying to do and something that they desperately need to do is obviously take that away in some ways. And honestly, they've been failing at their job for 20 years now with not providing that to players. As soon as there is a need shown by players that they need that or that they want that, they should have been filling this. They should have been working on this for the past 20 years. And I think a lot of the developers and even the director himself, Ian, I can't say his last name right now. I have terrible speech, so just know Ian, the director Ian, has literally stated that it is something that they've been failing at for the past 20 years. And also when it comes to designing the game around add-ons, it's been said that most of the time when it comes to raiding, they don't even design the raid to be a fun, fulfilling fight or something interesting. It most of the time is just a third of it is just them on a race against add-on developers, which is insane. So therefore, the people interacting with the game are people that aren't even playing the game. They're the ones coding against the game, which is kind of just ironically funny because in some ways it's funny because I think a lot of people, if you go to any other game, anyone that's not in the WoW sphere and you go to some game and you start telling how about how these people make games to make the game easier so you can win more, I think a lot of people with hacking, I know add-ons are not hacking, but it's almost borderline hacking. And something interesting, I was watching a stream the other day talk about how it's almost a skill on how to set up your UI in WoW, which is again something that's funny that the difficulty curve in the game, which by the way, I do think WoW does have a pretty steep difficulty curve, at least in retail. There's a lot fucking going on that you have to understand and know, and there's a lot of different classes and a lot of different specs, and classes interact with one another in each different ways. There's a lot of different big knowledge curve and also definitely a bit of a mechanical skill curve. Not definitely as much as other games, but there's definitely some mechanical skill that goes into WoW retail at the very least. Other WoW games, no. But I do find it funny that part of it is being considered how to set up your add-ons as an actual part of the which I think is just fucking hilarious. I honestly think about that. And again, I want to kind of go back to this. WoW devs have been definitely on the lazier side of their game development when it comes to add-ons being the fact that been basically patching. It's allowed them to be lazy in the way that they design the game. It allows them to design the game down routes that would not be there unless there were add-ons. And I think it is it's not I believe it's Blizzard's fault that they let this happen for so long, and that it needs to. This is not some. This is something that they should have done so long ago, and the fact that players are upset about it is just kind of funny because I always think that WoW players are in this weird own unique sphere of gaming that is so disconnected from other games that I think they forget that this is not normal. Like quality of life shouldn't come from your player base. Your player base, in a way, and what a lot of games are going. If you look at any other game service, I think this is something Ian, the director, again has hinted at. And I remember it was. I'm trying to remember. I think it was an interview with Breach. He was doing an interview with Ian, and I remember he was talking about player housing and how he really wants players to. He's excited to see how players and other player how players interact with custom player instance and I housing how housing is. I think that's the direction that they're looking to do. And I think that's a really cool, exciting way. And basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you look at any game like Minecraft, Roblox, or Fortnite, those are all games where player creativity isn't being filled, isn't it's not the UI and UI of the game is not part of the game that players are actively developing. Minecraft, I guess you could say because extra packs, but that doesn't make the game playable. That just adds a different flavor. And Blizzard has said they're still supporting add-ons that can change the flavor of the way it looks. But this is how add-ons interact with combat specifically. And I think they want to step away from this so the game can possibly grow into routes where player creativity on developing the game and helping the game is more of a way where players can express creativity through ways that players can interact with it. So basically, if you don't know, like Fortnite has a creative mode where you can go in, create specific game modes and stuff like that, where other players can join in, not just with you, but with their friends that are download different game modes that they can play. And it just basically makes the game to a point where it's not like unlimited content, but kind of grows itself. The game in itself is not just a game, but it's also now a new engine that players can interact and show off their creativity with to other players. And I really think that's where I think that's where they're wanting to take this, and I think that's a good route. Again, if their whole goal is for another 20 years of WoW. Other than that, though, guys, I'm really trying to think. Is there anything else I want to talk about with this? Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm about to say that's kind of, I just wanted to talk about this. It's been on my mind for quite some time. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but again, we were moving and had to get everything unpacked up here, get everything set up, which was kind of it. And then I had other things come up. But I'm very excited for WoW Midnight. Again, I've been keeping up with the alpha. I do agree with players that right now it definitely this is like what the third or fourth week. The alpha is looking pretty rough. I won't lie. It definitely is, and I do think that they need to put more attention to their replacements in the add-ons, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm keeping an open mind. I still just want to say that I definitely do stand by their decision what their add-ons, just because it needs to. It's been needing to happen for so long now. Like it's ridiculous. This game is so fucking. I'm sorry. I can't stand the fact that I can't that people don't want to play this game because of the fact that add-ons exist. It's fucking annoying. If you can't see that as one of the reasons why the game has been growing and why so many people aren't playing the game anymore, because as much as I say this, that the people that are like changes with add-ons, I really think I gotta emphasize this. My opinion here, I really think it's a loud minority, and I think there's a big silent majority really are going to appreciate it more. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's a small subset of that small that for of the large majority that might be a little thrown off because they're probably not keeping up with this. And when they play the game on release of midnight, they're probably gonna be sitting there like, "What the fuck? Why are my add-ons not working? What the hell?" So I really do hope. I think Blizzard really does need to make sure that when you first boot up the game when Midnight comes out, that they explain and show off the new UI system. I hope they think to include that because if not, damn. Which, to be fair, Blizzard's communication has been quite funky. So I think this is an interesting time. I know I think a lot of sentiment is either this is going to be great or this is going to be bad, and I'm curious to see. I'm still hopeful, but I do think some cautious optimism is always the best case for these situations. But anywho, though, guys, I'm done. Peace out. I didn't mean to rant for 15 minutes. Also, I'm streaming on Twitch. Oh yeah, real quick. I'm going ahead and editing. Sorry, let me take off my glasses. I'm going ahead and editing this video right now. I just wanted to say at the very end, you're seeing gameplay of Lumathar. I just want to say this video is about add-ons. In our raid this week, like almost an hour of it was just a guy trying to download and get his WeCores to work because they weren't fucking working. So yeah, I'm currently just know that this video is a little biased. I'm not a big fan of add-ons right now because they wasted an hour fucking time. Anyways, I just wanted to add that. Cool. Also, stream it on Twitch. Peace. Bye.